it's not a conflict. It's not complicated even.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious as the sun, it's there, and it's amazing. Like every time it's not new, like what's happening now in Gaza, it's not new. We have been living, like I was living that across of my life, all of my life. My dad was born in 1935, and and he's still witnessing these things.
I haven't been in this struggle as long, so I have more capacity to listen. So as soon as someone around me says, I'm tired, like Hussein said, like, we have so many people that this has just been revolved around their lives, and they tell me, I'm tired, I've been saying the same things over. I can tell them, no worries, I can take over for you because I have to right now, and this is the expectation I hope in the future that someone will do for me when maybe I've carried the torch long enough.
Rage, feeling a lot of rage, and trying to transform that and transmute it and use it in an effective way with consciousness. But yeah, a lot of rage, a lot of grief, deep sadness, a long list of very, very heavy and difficult emotions. And with all of them, trying to find what use can I make of them, because I believe emotion is energy in motion, it's information. So if I'm feeling rage or I'm feeling anger, let's say, that's because a boundary has been crossed, because there's injustice. If I'm feeling sadness or grief, that is the pain of letting go of loss. And mourning takes its time, and yet also it's like I don't feel full space to mourn yet, because we're still in a process of loss. And so many innocent lives are being taken away minute to minute, moment to moment in Gaza right now. We cannot be talking about peace when there's no justice. We cannot be talking about coexistence when we don't even get treated as same value of human life.
Welcome, my dear friends, to the show. I am so grateful that you were able to come today and share this space together and have this conversation together in this time that is so difficult and so painful for so many. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Before we get started, I just want to have a quick introduction to all of you guys, and for our listeners, I was very fortunate to gather my friends for this conversation today. As many of you know, when I come to Jordan, the country that I love, there's a lot of people there that have become my friends over the years. So today you will get to meet some of these friends, and I'm really excited to have with us Sarah Shabbar, a journalist that I met in Jordan some time ago, and we've become really great friends, who is now working for Jordan News Daily, a English language media organization based in Amman, right? Based in Amman, if I'm not mistaken. How are you doing, Sarah?
Doing well, or doing as best as I can, I would say right now.
Yes. And you've been working really hard, covering the conflict, and I know it's taking a huge toll on you. So I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
We have such a beautiful team, so I just want to point that out. Like if our team listens to this right now, they're covering the hour that I get to be here. So I feel so privileged that, honestly, like, sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions about maybe working teams in Jordan, but I feel like I have the best team that has become so much closer in all of this, and actually has wanted to become better human beings rather than just becoming better journalists or trying to beat some sort of media. So I just wanted to add that, because I know that they might be listening after. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I've been following all the work that you were doing even before, right? Even before right now, on the platform and with this organization, and it's really wonderful. We'll be sure to link to the Instagram account of Jordan News Daily and all the work that you're doing, because it's important that people get to hear from people directly, right? That's what I always advocate for. Don't listen to me, listen to the people who I'm talking with, because that's how we really understand what's happening anywhere in the world, is by learning from and listening to people who live and work there. They're our best resource for understanding what's happening. So again, thank you so much for being here today, Sarah. And then we have my dear friend Hussein Alazaat, a renowned artist, calligrapher, thinker, a guardian of culture is how we've called him in the past.
Yeah, too much. Thank you.
A really wonderful person who everybody should come and visit when you're in Amman. He has a beautiful studio called Elharf. And again, we're going to link to Elharf and all the work that Elharf is doing. A multifaceted organization that provides workshops, that is curating an incredible archive of Arabic books, comics, art, like probably one of the most beautiful archives I've ever seen. And a lot of them are in Hussein's studio. And we're very fortunate to have Hussein with us today.
Thank you, Julia. I'm very glad to be with you and Sarah and Rawan and in this podcast. I'm really happy to see you, of course, and to have this ongoing collaborations and friendship before everything. And I hope today we will have a nice episode in your podcast, and everyone who listen to us, they enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you, Hussein. And then we also have with us today Rawan Roshni, a musician based in Jordan, a Palestinian Balkan musician based in Jordan, who I've recently had the pleasure of getting to know, because Rawan's music, you guys, is the one that's featured in our podcast this season. If you've been listening to the podcast, you'll notice that we have a very beautiful introduction to the podcast this season, and we use it in the introduction and in the end, and sometimes in the middle as well. And it's the beginning notes to a very beautiful composition called Abbad El Shams. And we're going to link to the full song as well, and to all of Rawan's links as well. But very fortunate to have Rawan on the podcast today, and I can't wait to meet you in person as well. So thank you for coming, Rawan.
Thank you for the invitation, Julia, and thank you for spreading my sound, and also really looking forward to meeting you as well.
Wonderful, beautiful. Well, what we're going to start with right now is I just want to ask you, how are you guys feeling in this moment? It's a moment of a lot of pain, and I want to say that for sometimes it might not feel this way when you're there in Jordan right now, but a lot of people from everywhere in the world are feeling your pain and feeling that pain as well, and are with you, is what I would like to say. I've received countless messages from people from all over the world in the last couple of days and weeks, and a lot of people are feeling that too. So what I wanted to say is that you guys are not alone, but I wanted to check in and ask you, how are you feeling in this moment?
Should I start? I answer. Yeah, please. Thank you. You have mentioned, I think, in your introduction that we are recording this episode during a conflict happening in the region, and I think I'm a little bit sensitive to words, and yeah, definitely it's not a conflict.
Yes, and you know, as soon as I said that, I actually, why did I use that word? That was not the right word to use.
Yeah, it's fine, because many people are using it, and maybe that's the time to to reintroduce, you know, the correct terms. And it's not a conflict. It's not complicated even.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious as the sun, you know. It's there, you know, and it's amazing. Like every time it's not new, you know, like what's happening now in Gaza. It's not new. We have been living like I was living that across of my life, all of my life. My dad was born in 1935, and you know, and he's still witnessing these things. He was born here in Jordan, but like it's part of our daily news and daily collective pain and collective sorrow, and the other feelings of anger, feeling that things are not going correct. And once we hear the news, and once we hear I'm sorry to say that, the Western perspective on that, it's really making us also like boil more. And now the issue, how to express ourselves, how to express this anger. And Arabs have been trying to express that in the last 70 or 80 years, I don't know. And I think we've tried all the possible ways, and still the issue is still there. And I don't want to take more time talking about that, but in the beginning, like 2 weeks ago, I was totally lost. I was totally feeling so painful, and I expressed myself in a few sketches on my Instagram. But I think maybe today something changed. I think there's a hope, you know, and I think using also social media and listening the new voices coming from the West that, guys, we are sorry, we have been taking the wrong perspective and the wrong idea about your situation, and we are sorry. Now we have the true image and the true vision, and we felt that there is something changing in the West, and also here locally, like the level of awareness at young people minds and voices, and how everyone is also expressing themselves. Like it's very important, like even for artists, writers, musicians. I think there's a new wave coming. I feel positive today. It's only today happened. I don't know why, but I feel there is a hope. There is a good thing coming up, and I hope really this silly situation stop, and for forever. Like it should be stopped. It should be fixed. And so there is a hope, I think, in the future.
Thank you for that, Hussein. And you know, I've been part of this conversation only for a limited time. Of course, I cannot compare with years and decades, and your family being part of that. And even in the several years that I've been part of this conversation, I also see more and more people becoming aware, and more people adding their voices to the conversation in the West, right? Which I think is important, actually, because until the West collectively shifts, because it's all coming from the West anyway, the situation, right? Until the West collectively shifts.
It's a Western problem.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I see that those small roots of hope poking through the ground, right, if you will, as well, and that is so good to see that. So I agree with you too. I see that online. I see that on social media, which is such a powerful tool, right, to be able to use that, and everyone who is able to use that in whatever shape or form is adding to that collective change and to that collective hope as well. So that's really important. Rawan, Sarah, anything that you want to add to that?
I think when when everything happened, was so I traveled to China on October 8th. And October 7th, I basically woke up to the news alongside everyone else. I've become a little bit numb every time something happens. Jordan News, weekly we talk about Al-Quds being flooded with settlers who are trying to hurt Palestinians. So it's become part of our daily. It's like we wake up, we check, we talk to our editor-in-chief, he tells us what to write. We talk about Netanyahu and the Knesset members and the right-wing, like the right-wing Israeli government. I mean, it's something that is not new for us.
Mm-hmm.
So when it first happened, I was sitting here and working, and I wasn't taking it very seriously, to be honest with you, because I said it's just another day that I'm just I'm gonna anzal al-akhbar, I'm gonna put it, and I'm gonna armi wara dahri. It's just another day. And as the situation had progressed and I realized it, and when I got a call from my editor-in-chief and he said, "Is this your first time covering a war?" And I said, "Yes, I'm 30 years old." I was like, I haven't lived this experience. I said, "Oh, this is actually something that is going to, it was so unexpected and I didn't know what to do." The whole time when I was in China, I felt very disassociated because I was working with Jordan News while going to all these meetings and trying to be present for this work trip that I had been invited to, because we were supposed to be talking about the China-Arab cooperation and how China and Jordan have very good relations. And I was there to look at all these things from art to politics to culture. And I was just very disconnected. And so I think it was very difficult at first, but then it also too brought a lot of really good conversations with people that I could have, on the outside looking in. And I think, similar to Hussein, I started feeling maybe the hope a little bit yesterday, like when, I don't know what kind of happened, but my husband is Palestinian and I started, joking with him a little bit, not about obviously what's going on, but we were just joking with one another. We were joking about olive oil. So it's like the small things that we have that are really embedded. I just realized this is not going to go away, that the culture, there's no erasing of culture that's going to happen. As someone who was born and raised in the US, I'm also new to this topic as well. I grew up in California, where I was telling my husband, I was in 4th grade when they took us to the Holocaust Museum. I didn't know that Palestine existed until I had come to Jordan when I was 12 years old. And a girl told me Americans are killing Palestinians. And I went to my parents and I told them, who are Palestinians? Wow. Can you imagine? I'm Jordanian. But because my parents, they're from Irbid, they're Jordanian, they have, they're tribal, they're asha'ir. Palestine was always a very touchy subject for them. And they were still in this mode where they didn't want to talk about it. So actually it was the new generation of kids, when they started having kids and they realized that they're going to school and there's more of an exceeding majority of Palestinians, it became very hard for us to ignore the reality that we were living in. So I guess part of it also makes me feel like there's this part of this inner child in me that feels happy that I'm healing this part of myself, because I felt like, when I talked to my husband, I mean, as soon as, he tells me, because his family's min al-Quds, he goes, we're taught about Palestine as soon as we can talk, Mama, Baba, Palestine. So it's like, he has so many years over me and I get to heal this part of me that really didn't know or was a mouthpiece for kind of this misunderstanding that I had. So I'm taking this responsibility as serious as I can. I'm trying to listen to everyone. I think that's kind of one of the beauty of someone that is kind of on the outside coming in, that I haven't been in this struggle as long, so I have more capacity to listen. So as soon as someone around me says, I'm tired, like Hussein said, we have so many people that this has just been revolved around their lives and they tell me, I'm tired, I've been saying the same things over. I can tell them, no worries, I can take over for you because I have to right now, and this is the expectation I hope in the future that someone will do for me when maybe I've carried the torch long enough. So really, I feel, to be honest, I feel very blessed to be in Jordan at this time, to see this shift and to see everything, and to also as well get to remind my friends in the US, you were marching in 2020 for the Black Lives Matter movement. and you were begging people not to be silent. Like, you cannot be silent now. You can't go to everything and say land acknowledgements and we want our land back, and when actually land is being taken back, say, well, it's a little too violent for us. Like, what, you know, this is what did you expect was going to happen? So part of it is really nice that I get to also be on this end and like share my experiences with other people as well.
One of the things that I really understood deeply in the past few years is how all these struggles are connected, how they're so connected. It's the same thing happening all over the world, actually, you know, from Black Lives Matter to indigenous movements around the world to Palestine. It's all connected. And to your point, Sarah, if you're supporting one, your support, you know, you cannot support one movement and one call for liberation and not do it over here, but not over here, right? You just, I don't know, you start seeing all these, like on a big scale level, or on the global level, you start seeing how all of this connected. And then there is no other option actually than to just, you know, you have to support. There's no other way, you know. Rawan, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'm not sure whether to start with feelings or thoughts. Your original question was, how are we feeling? So I can start there, because if I offload a bit of my feelings, then I can be a bit more eloquent. But yeah, in these last 12 days, I suppose, a little bit more, rage, feeling a lot of rage, and trying to transform that and transmute it and use it in an effective way, with consciousness. But yeah, a lot of rage, a lot of grief, deep sadness, hopelessness, disgust, disappointment, a long list of very, very heavy and difficult emotions. And with all of them, trying to find what use can I make of them, because I believe emotion is energy in motion. It's information. So if I'm feeling rage or I'm feeling anger, let's say, that's because a boundary has been crossed, because there's injustice. If I'm feeling sadness or grief, that is the pain of letting go of loss. And mourning takes its time, and yet also it's like I don't feel full space to mourn yet, because we're still in a process of loss. And so many innocent lives are being taken away minute to minute, moment to moment in Gaza right now. And so also like definitely sensations of overwhelm, of confusion, trying to like keep up and not miss anything, trying to reshare everything and spread the information, and also facing resistance and criticism from different people who see me as, like, you know, a peaceful musician, but also that's not everything that I am. I'm also a facilitator. I'm not very public about that, but I work with different NGOs and in multinational groups, with teenagers, with elders, with children. I've done things over the years all over the world, and I understand that like conversations are really important, circles are really important, and also one thing necessitates to be before another. We cannot be talking about peace when there's no justice. We cannot be talking about coexistence when we don't even get treated as same value of human life. So there's huge discrepancies, and I sift between like my heart and what I feel in like my motherhood energy towards all of these children, of wanting to just take everyone in to my heart and protect them, and feeling really helpless with that. And then into like more of my brain and my analytical and my masculine energy, and trying to understand what's happening, and trying to figure out a strategy. Like, what is it? What do I need to do? And where do I do it from? And so there's a lot happening all the time, and it's hard to focus, it's hard to function in a normal way, and I don't think that that's what needs to happen anyways. Like, all of my work has been canceled. In places where I'm a leader, I've chosen to cancel or delay things to honor what's happening right now, to be fully present with what's happening right now. And what I can say is that, like, I'm ancestrally Palestinian. I'm Palestinian diaspora. So I'm part of the community that hasn't been born there, that's been expelled from the time of my grandparents. I was born in Kuwait, and then in 1990 we experienced the war with Iraq, so we fled to Jordan, and then I also had 10 years in which I lived in Canada. So I'm definitely a global citizen in that sense. I'm of that 0.01 most privileged Palestinians in the world, maybe, because I have an international Western passport and education. And I feel a lot of responsibility with that. I feel that with that privilege, I need to leverage it into influence, into leadership, into offerings back to my home community and my homeland. So I've been trying to figure that out for many years, and I visit often, and so there are people there. There's extended family, but there's also soul family and friends that I'm checking in on every day, with mostly in the West Bank, less so in Gaza. But there's also a lot happening in the West Bank, and it's not like the most popular thing on the news, but there's a lot happening. So trying to just be in the know of everything, and realizing also that it's like very distorted, and like civilian journalism is the way that one is trying to capture everything that's happening, but it's going so fast, and the breadth of it is so huge. And also, yeah, alhamdulillah, that the world's paying attention. It's about time. It's about time.
It's about time.
And I hope that that translates into something, you know, because we have these bursts of panic and many people become conscious of it. And then I can see even now, as the days are going, people are getting tired. Like one of them, I'm trying to make sure I rest, but there's anxiety, there's nightmares, there's, you know, all kinds of secondary and tertiary trauma responses happening for everyone. So just it's important to replenish, to rest, to find community, and to like be in it for the long haul, because I don't think that this is going to end in a week or two, and I wouldn't want to lose my energy before my role is complete. And still trying to figure out what is my role exactly. And even as a musician, there's been like calls for, you know, canceling all performances, canceling all gatherings, canceling, which I understand also in a sense of like honoring the grief. And also I wonder, what is the role of the music and the arts right now in this moment? What about a collective song, or what about a poem? And I've seen a friend of mine who's a poet releasing things that are on topic, on point, on relevance, or graphics and artworks that are coming out. So there is like a deep calling to sing to this, about this, or for this. But still, it's like my voice is like here.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for anyone to process and to stay present with. But you mentioned a role of you mentioned this question of what does my art, what role does my art play in this? And this is actually something that I want to explore next, right? How do you each one of you, how do you use, or how do you think your art is helping you? Not only in this moment, because like you said, Rawan, perhaps in this moment, the best thing to do is to stop. But some people are choosing to use the art to process, like Hussein, you mentioned you were posting the beautiful calligraphy on your account, and I was, you know, following them. I was looking at them as well. So how do you think your art is helping you, not only in this moment, but overall, to show up in the world and to continue to advocate for humanity and for, you know, for all these important issues that we're discussing today?
Yeah, I think these are big questions, and I don't see myself in that position of depending a lot on my art or on my work to carry that huge and noble messages for great causes. Maybe in a previous discussion, me and you, Yulia, maybe I told you that even in my art, I follow the design thinking process. It's not always purely expressions of myself. usually, because my main work and my many hours of my day goes to the design and the branding and solving problems using my visual and aesthetics tools. But when it comes to my, even when I do an art exhibition and I create artworks, or sometimes I got the commissions like any other artist. To be honest, I don't express a lot of myself in this work because it's kind of my my daily and my lovely tools, the ink and paper and the other material that I deal with. But in these cases, what's happening now in Palestine, or what happened recently in, for example, in Morocco and Libya, and previously in Syria, and I expressed myself many times through my art and through my own very deeply feelings, and it was very important for me. I'm trying to avoid the word therapeutic because maybe it's not the correct term, but it's the group of honest feelings and how I could express that on a paper. I think it's a very personal thing. The end result, when it comes, by the way, for example, the things that I do in these cases, usually they don't take a lot of attention, you know, like they are not being shared everywhere, and I'm happy with that because it's a very personal thing. You know, I expressed that, I created that artwork based on my feeling towards that incident. It's a very personal thing, and it satisfies me. It make things crystallized in my eyes, and I cannot explain it to anyone else. So when you say that you have seen my artworks in the last 2 weeks and you like them, that make me really happy, you know. And yeah, I think it goes like that. Super personal expressions in my case, and it cures something inside me. Yeah, that's it.
Maybe healing is a better word.
Maybe healing, yeah, healing, curing, yeah, I think so. It's very important. It's very important. Like I do a lot of these things. I don't publish them, of course, all of them. However, in the last since 7th of October, I have posted some of them, and yeah, I think it heals something inside me.
Yeah. As an outsider observing your art, I think I want to disagree with you a little bit on that your art is not personal, and the things that you put on ink and paper, because in everything that I've seen from you, I see you actually.
Okay, thank you.
I see Hussein in every single piece of work that I've seen from you so far. So I don't know, that's just my personal observation. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I really wanted to go off of kind of like what Hussein said. So while I'm a journalist, I consider myself a storyteller first and foremost. That poetry was my first love, aslan. So I had a very rough childhood growing up. I was living in a very abusive household, and I always found a way to escape. I was the child that literally could be in a closet after a very bad physical episode and imagine a life that was different. So even when I had started taking therapy, many years ago, and I was talking to her about my trauma, she was teaching me about visualization, and I said, oh, I used to do that as a child, and I hadn't even realized that was something that I did, which makes me so happy that I had these tools within me. And I think my art has manifested during that time, like as far as poetry goes. But I think one of the most beautiful things that happened to me when I moved to Jordan is I became a little bit more recluse. I think in the US, there's this expectation that a woman of color or a woman of some sort of ethnic background should be very open, that she should just be someone who gives information and justifies her existence. When I came to Jordan, I was amongst women myself who were teaching me the power of keeping things, like maybe certain things that are okay. Like it's okay to not go shouting from the rooftops of like who you are, your experience is what you have gone through. Like you can keep certain parts to yourself. So right now my art and my poetry looks very different. It's not being published anywhere, which has been kind of nice. I'm writing things and I'm sending them to the people that I think of the most. I wrote my first thing that I even wrote about Palestine. What I'm doing is, because I'm writing so much news daily, I'm living in the reality. I like to write my poetry in an alternative universe, like an alternative history that I really do believe in. I believe that this can happen. So like I just been sending people poems or certain things about, you know, just my feelings or how I think of them. One of my friends has really beautiful eyebrows, and I don't know why, for me, I connect her eyebrows to her Palestinianness, that I just think that this is like the Palestine, it lives right here. So I wrote her a poem about her eyebrows, and it just, I don't know, for some reason, it just finding comfort in being able to do like that kind of, this kind of art right now that's very personal and it's not going to go anywhere, and it can just live between me and this other person in this very intimate moment. And it's created a lot of like intimate conversations, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I think that before, when I was writing my poetry, there was such a pressure of like making sure everything was edited properly for like maybe grammar, punctuation, that it could be read properly, that, you know, it could fit on an Instagram screen and whatever. And now it's like, you know, I send it as a WhatsApp message or just send it to someone in a voice note to like, khalas, if they like it, they like it. If they don't, you know, at least I got something out of my heart that I felt like needed to get out. And that's how I've been feeling. And kind of like for what Rawan said earlier, I've been feeling more motherly. And so there's like this little bit of like, I mean, I don't have children of my own, but I want children. And I've been thinking about children so much since all of this has happened. So I just keep thinking about all these like children. I keep revisiting all of this art where all of these artists have historically written about these alternative universes where children were uplifted from war, were kind of taken away from their situations and got to live in these different universes that don't exist here in reality. And for some reason, I don't know why, but this gives me comfort sometimes when I'm writing the news, that I can live in the reality for that one moment and then I can escape it for a little bit through a universe that I really believe exists. So it's, I don't know if that makes sense. My brain's all over the place, but for me, that's where I'm feeling, that's where I'm at.
And I think that's the power of art, right? That's the power of I've seen a lot of beautiful paintings come out recently. Sliman Mansour has been sharing lots of beautiful art, and we'll link to some of that for our listeners too. That's that power of living in a different world, in an alternate world, even if just for a little bit, right? It's almost like fueling our reserves, right? To keep going and to keep working towards that different world, that alternate world. That's really beautiful. You mentioned that a couple of times, Sarah, that you're really glad that you're in Jordan at this time. And so what I want to ask next is a little bit of, tell us a little bit about what does a creative community in Jordan, and particularly in Amman, looks like? Because it's been my personal sort of, let's say, project, or one of my goals, to raise awareness of how amazing Amman is. And I'm a little bit biased, I think, because I've had this conversation with people before, that I think Amman is an incredible city and it has so much to offer, and it has so many interesting projects and interesting conversations even happening there that I think internationally don't get the awareness and recognition that they deserve. You know, from the standpoint of people who come to Jordan and who want to know more about the country, Amman is almost always an afterthought, to be honest. They don't center their experience around Amman, right? They center it, perhaps understandably, around Petra and other places. But for me, that's been kind of this personal project of raising the profile of Amman whenever I can, because that's been my own experience when I come there, that it's just a really vibrant and beautiful place to be in. So I guess I'm curious to hear your perspective on what does creative community look like in Amman for you and for the art that you do, and for your personal experience.
I think as a writer, I'm in between so many communities, because as a writer, there's a bit of a curiosity. So like sometimes I'm taking inspiration from, you know, someone that I met walking on the streets and we have a conversation, or sometimes I'm really putting myself in situations where I'm connecting with other writers. Sometimes it is a disconnect too. I only write in English. I'm learning how I can write in Arabic and express myself more in Arabic, because it's not my mother tongue. It's the second language that I learned with. I like to have arguments with my mom about every day that I really think she should have pushed it more on us. But for me, creative community, it's very different than what I lived in Los Angeles for the last 15 years, which is like an art hub. You know, everyone that wants to come to LA, there's so much art and whatever, but it's not as intimate. There's an intimacy to Amman that I tell people, I can't even explain it. You have to just see it here for yourself. That it can live anywhere. You know, I met a group of women that were showing me interest in writing, and we all decided to kind of just come together, even though we all came from different backgrounds. And I don't know, that we built a community based off of that. And it's like, I tell people it's unexplained. Like sometimes it's not even forced interaction, that you met someone who's written something before, who's interested in whatever, and they give you a contact of someone else who, like, there you go, you have your community. So that's something I really like in Amman. I was very lonely when I moved here, and the reason, or the way I built a community, was honestly just getting out of my house, whether it was going and having like a juice at one of the places nearby and like just telling people, like, you know, do you have any people that you could introduce me to be friends with or whatever. But it's very welcoming. But also being in journalism, I'm so happy, and it makes me really, if anyone can see the amount of messages I get daily about, there's this person doing this artwork over here, there's this musician doing whatever, and I sometimes will message, because I'm the chief reporter and senior editor, sometimes I'll message my staff back and I'm like, where are you getting this info? Like, it's awesome that you know this, like it's really cool. So I think that's how the creative community is in my eyes. It's just something that's very intimate. I would say it's not as forced. In the US, it's very forced. You join a society of something, you have like a community, there's like meetings that you go to. Here, it's just more of these like interactions. You have to be very well aware that at some point they could fall off, and then you make new people. Honestly, just feels like a tree. It's continuous. And it's really nice. My mom, my mom moved out of Jordan when she was 23. I begged her to come sit with me in Amman for a few days when she was like visiting to do business. And I told her, can I please take you to some of the museums? And my mom was like mesmerized. She was like, oh, there's so much in your neighborhood that you could do. And I was telling her, see, it's something that maybe like if we're not looking for it, we won't find it. But if you look for it, you can find it. So I like that.
That's how I feel as well. Yeah, absolutely. And the art galleries, I love all the art galleries.
I like art galleries because if you're not, for instance, Hussein, I know you from the flowers that are outside your place. Like if it's not something that you're interested in walking in, you know, you can bring a group of people and someone can enjoy sitting in the the corridor outside of the art gallery because there's all these old fountains and views. Someone can go inside and do whatever. So really, like, Amman is a nice place for all of that. It's very different from like forcing someone in the US, like, yalla, I'm gonna take you to an art gallery. You're gonna be forced to look at all of this art in a hallway and whatever. It's like, I've taken
more organic, right?
Yeah, it's more organic. You know, sometimes I've taken friends who've expressed no, like, they'll tell me I don't really care about art. I'm not a big fan of museum, and they'll come and they'll be like, oh, this house is one of the original homes of Amman, and you can bring them into the artwork in that sense. You can be like, oh, see, like, look where I took you. It's very nice. So it's nice to do that. I don't really know how else to explain it, but that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Rawan, what do you feel?
Yeah, the creative community in Jordan, I think it's, or in Amman, let's say, I think it's always been there, and it's evolving. And also there's like a curiosity and openness for new things. So about, like, I would say 10 years ago, we would gather in like private gatherings to play music while some people are spinning fire, while some people are doing this and that and making live art and this and that. And now, like, things that were seeded 10 years ago are becoming more and more available and accessible. But as Sarah said, you have to like look for it as well. It's not up in your face. Like there are, for example, in the music industry, there's big concerts for big artists and big event management companies that bring them, but most of those are not local. Most of those are international or regional artists, and those are the billboards you're going to see. Whereas the local artists are still playing in the smaller venues and for like more of a local crowd, or for the expat crowd that's well meshed in with the local crowd. So there's a bit of that also, though, like where I desire to see our local artists on those big stages, and like more balance between the Jordanian or Ammani, whatever you want to call it, musicians and painters, and this alongside these world-renowned names. Like, why is it not a Jordanian band that's opening for whoever is being brought in? Like right now, I think Maroon 5 has been canceled, but if Maroon 5 was on that stage, why don't we have a Jordanian band opening for them? So I'm appreciating, and I'm also saying there's a lot of room for growth and for like that abundance, whether it's in exposure or in resources, to be also like nicely widely spread, as Amman is becoming more and more of a tourist attraction. There's a lot of people coming from all over the world, whether it's for work, for temporary stays, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or for tourism passing through. It is becoming more on the map. And now there's a movement also in the music scene, at least, where there are Jordanian artists that are becoming global. It started with like Assam al-Najjar on TikTok, but like he got picked up by Universal, and he became on Times Square on big billboards, and this has opened doors to multiple other artists that are kind of more in like the pop world, pop, Arabizi, English and Arabic, but to singing in Arabic, but to English melodies or English beats, Western beats. So there's transformation happening, there's things happening. This is more like on an industry level conversation, but in terms of community, that's what keeps me coming back. Like I have the option, as I mentioned earlier, like I have, alhamdulillah, this Canadian passport. I could be in Canada, I could be anywhere else, but it's the friends and the community and that intimacy and that warmth and that collaboration. Like, for example, on my last release, I collaborated with a street artist, like a graffiti artist. And he made me like digital art for the cover of my song, but in the style of his graffiti art, which I'm in love with. His name is Yazan Mismar. I really love his work. Just now, for example, I cheated and I opened my Instagram and I was looking at your calligraphy, Hussein, because I hadn't heard of you before. It's beautiful. And I could, like, you see things happen where people are open and want to experiment with each other. There's also healthy competition, and that's fine. And sometimes toxic competition, and that's fine. But like I could see, for example, like calligraphy artist collaborating with an animator, collaborating with a musician, with a poet, and the four of them create a piece together. And these things happen, and it's really beautiful, and it's accessible, and It's not a lot of like, which is again a double-edged sword, but it's not a lot of like legal checks and balances. Oh, I need copyright and this and that. But like it's a lot more afawi, it's a lot more spontaneous. And I think we do need more licensing entities and more booking agencies and more. So it's a double-edged conversation of like community and industry. And I think like there's something to be bridged there, where like a bit more tending to the industry could really serve the community. Because sometimes this community grows desperate or disappointed of like, yeah, but I'm not making enough money off my art, or I'm not protected enough, or I'm not supported enough. Look, at the end of the day, the big companies go get people in barra and they put them on the big stages. What am I doing? All of my art from A to Z. So infrastructure also can really support the creative community and the creative process.
But I like what you said, Rawan. I really like the idea of that. I really want to add to that. There's so much room for collaboration here. I've had people that have come and told me, like, I'll tell them like, oh, I have an interest in singing, and they'll be like, okay, come on Friday night and sing a song for us. And I'm like, what? There's a bit more, I think, because there is not as many people maybe in the industry, like from what I've seen differently, is people are much more willing to give you a chance. And if you kind of blow that chance, they're okay giving you another chance. It's just about the willingness, kind of like Rawan, what you said, to show up, to have a good work ethic, and to protect one another, because at the end of the day, you don't have an entity protecting you. You have to protect yourselves and one another. So that's something I really love. You know, even with the newspaper, like with everything that's going on, I've been offering like people who are not journalists to write opinion pieces. Because I'm like, get out all of this energy. Like, I don't care what background you come from. If you like have a laptop, or you can write even on your phone, like write, you know, I'll help you out at the end of the day with all these like technical things of like grammar and punctuation in English, of like subject, verb, whatever, that I don't even understand sometimes. But I think that's the one thing I love about Jordan. You can get so many opportunities that for outside it's really hard to do that. Like here, as a woman, I can walk around and say, I'm a poet, a storyteller, you know, a wife, or whatever, a this, a that, and no one looks at me and says like, you know, pick one thing. It's kind of like, okay, this is who she is. Yeah.
I love that.
I'd love to hear some of your poetry, Sarah.
Thank you. I would love to send you some.
Collaboration in the works. Hussein, how do you feel about the creative community in Amman?
Yeah, I will bring it to this discussion through my own experience. So let's say I have a guest in my studio, and here will I show the guest my work, my experiences, my collaborations with other artists, locally or internationally, and I will show the guest also glimpses of our past, what we have done in Jordan and the Arab world, our achievements, our accomplishments, and what we have also the highlights of our history, and also the new things coming recently in our world, like the new book designs, the new illustrations, the new depth also of understanding our culture and our literature, and translating that back into new products as in my collection of books. So after we finish that, we go to my Italian friend. He came from all over. He traveled the whole world to find his love, his Jordanian wife, and together they opened a restaurant, and we will have lunch there. We try his experimental cuisine. That's another perspective to the I think to the creative scene in my own angle. Then we go walk in Jabal Luwabdi, which is the cultural neighborhood of Amman, and it's the hub of many artists and many cultural institutions. Then we go to Darat al-Funun, which is a magical place, I would say. It's a group of old houses built over, let's say, 100 years ago, and they were acquired and bought by personal, let's say, by one guy, actually, by one guy and his wife, and they started to renovate these old houses and to make it as a contemporary art space to exhibit amazing work by Jordanian and Arab artists. And we end up also seeing a Byzantine church in that place. It's a church from the 6th century, and we can see also the mosaic flooring is still there, and it's amazing. Then we can stand in that place and we look on the other mountains of Amman, and we can see those little cubes. I'm just explaining this visual because the listeners maybe have not been.
I know exactly what you're
Amman
talking about.
before.
I see the visual and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so looking at the other mountains, and every cube on the other mountain is a house with many rooms, with many families, with many dreams, with many beautiful things happening there. And it's also looking at that, it's a very challenging environment. You know, all of these houses, they have to get water, electricity, you know, fiber internet, and everything is there, you know, like in that challenging and very difficult let's say, at least geographic and topographic environment, but at least we are there together. And I tell this guest, you know, what you are seeing here is a collective efforts by people who came from all over the world seeking peace. They came to this city and to this country, Jordan, because they are seeking peace. That's a very obvious reason why we are here in this country. Even the name Amman, one of the personal interpretation of the name, and in my own way, I say Amman is closer a word to Amman, and Amman means safe. So this safe and secure city who gathered people from all over the world, it gave them that space. It gave them, as Rawan and Sarah said, they give them opportunities. There are opportunities, you know, you have to take them. You have to seek them. You have to make your efforts to get a good network. And in this network, you will be providing others by ideas and also taking more notions from them. I think I'm not. Yeah, this is the creative scene of Amman. This is Amman from my eyes. When I say that to my other Jordanian friends, they say, "Oh, Hussein, you are taking your guests and you are showing them your Amman." And I say, yeah, that's my Amman. That's Amman that I love. That's Amman that I feel longing when I travel. You know, I keep missing Amman, and it's a beautiful place. I love it. I feel really safe in it. I feel there's great hopes. I have been you know, walking in every part of it, and I have been also studying and telling people about the beautiful things, and also, as Sarah said, like the hidden gems. This is not only Amman. This is like also in Jordan. You have to look for these things, and that's the beautiful thing of Amman. Again, it's like any other city or any other place in the world. There is difficulties. There is challenging points, and yeah, like you have to move. You have to make solid actions, you know, to shine and to love that city. You know, the city is there. It invites everyone to love it, and apparently, I'm seeing more and more people from all over the world still coming, and they feel magical. Like last week I had a friend. She's a Japanese and she's living and working in New York. And once she sees Amman, when she saw the Amman, she said, "Wow, I want to live here. I want to have an apartment." And like she's like from the east and the west together, and she wants to be in the middle. Amman is the middle of the world. Amman is the center. Like, yeah, it's really a magical geographic, place happened for that reason, and there is a good thing happening. So again, the creative scene, it's not easy, there's a competition in such way, but if the creative person has a specialty, if the person has unique tools and unique products and services and ideas, I think it's a very healthy environment then to shine and to have a good name in that sense.
I resonate so much with everything that all of you are saying, because that's also how I feel every time I come to Amman. And one of the reasons why I keep coming back, right? It's that magic that I feel it in the air, that spirit, that community, that intimacy that you mentioned, Sarah, as well. I feel it as well, and it draws me back to, I miss Amman, I miss Amman, and I just in times when I'm not able to come back and rent a place in Wavedid, that place that is so cold in the winter that I just need so many layers. I remember last time, Hussein, how I was complaining to you how cold how cold that place is. But yeah, it's, I miss it. I miss spending time there and being with all of you, and everybody should definitely experience that. So on that note, a couple of you mentioned that several times, that you need to know where to look, because sometimes it's hidden. So how can somebody who is visiting Amman, let's say for the first time, how can they tap into that, or where should they even look, or where would you point, which direction would you point them in if they want to kind of get exposed to some of that beauty that we were just talking about?
I think for me, just to read, honestly, to Google, because all of the information is available. Like, for instance, we have someone named Diana Sarhan. She's a local guide in Amman. She's not hiding. She's a hidden gem in Amman. I love her, but she's not hiding by any means. If I think if you Google search right now, like local guide Jordan or local guide Amman, she'll pop up, and she can do tours for you that are very like tailored to your needs. Sorry, that's my cat. But she can do tours that are very tailored to your needs. Like, say for instance, you want to learn something about like art, or if you want to learn something about food. Or she can do, something that she's already done for years, which is she just walks people around Amman. So she gives them the experience of walking on foot, which I think is so important. But I also think like, and this is really bad, maybe this is part of me being just who I am as a person. I moved to Amman without asking anyone what wave there was, what Amman was. I just moved here, and as soon as I came here, I figured it out. So like, I would give anyone the same advice of like, maybe just like walk around, like Hussein, I wasn't looking for your place. I found your place because of flowers. You know what I mean? Like, maybe just be a little bit of a lost child in like a city. But the thing I want to reiterate, as soon as you put your foot down here, there's no short of someone telling you where things are. There's no short of you just walking around. Like, just go to a neighborhood. I'm sure you can find, little things as well. When I moved here to Amman, kind of like what Hussein said, I chose to focus on the heroes of the story rather than the negative aspects. So like, everyone was, my American friends were like, is it safe to move to Jordan? Blah, 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 this and that. I was like, I don't know. I rented an apartment from a guy on WhatsApp. He seems really nice. I'll figure it out when I get there. If it doesn't work, I leave. Like, it's very normal. But I think that, for me, at least, something that has helped me is just I've let my curiosity kind of like lead me since I was very young. And I think that's why for me, I've had such a good experience in Amman, because it is a place that invites you to be curious. You can walk around and just go somewhere. I went one time down the street from Webde, which is like on the way to Abdali. Like it's this very long street. There's mechanic shops. There's guys on the street selling coffee. And there's this very small sweets shop. I forget what he's called. But one time my tire went out and I just went inside and I said, can I try one of your sweets? I didn't know it ended up being one of the oldest sweet shops in Amman. It has all this story and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, okay, like just walk around, ask. Everyone will be very welcoming and inviting to you. And even if, this is what I love about Jordanians in general, even if the language barriers exist, people here can communicate with hand gestures, with Google, I mean, they will find a way. Like Jordanians are no short of finding a way to communicate with someone. And I actually think that's very funny. That's a very good thing. Like I had a friend visit here from the US and I gave her like, I think 2 or 3 tips, even though I worked in tourism, and the rest I was like, you know, just figure it out. Like just go walk around and see what happens. You know, here are some like little cute neighborhoods you can go to. But other than that, I'm not going to force you and tell you where to go. Like just go and figure it out, you know? Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's how I found, by the way, that's how I found Shams community. Are you guys aware of
Yes,
the
yeah.
Shams community? That's how I found them. I think I walked into I was walking on the street and I saw some action happening in this little alleyway. I'm like, what's happening here? And I walk in and it's the dinner that they organize, you know, dinner and conversation. A really beautiful initiative too. We'll link to it in the show notes. But you're right? Like you just have to be curious and you have to be open to seeing what's happening on the streets while you're walking, or just visit Hussein in his studio and he'll give you that beautiful tour that he was just talking about, right?
Yeah, it's not a tour, you know, like just it's like my regular thing that I do by myself, you know. I do that
Right.
even alone, you know. I do that. I go to Dar al Funun. I walk on my foot in my neighborhood, and yeah, like led by curiosity. I think that's a good tagline for Amman. We can take it officially there. But I would say another thing, another tools to discover Amman, because there's, you know, like a new thing called the creative tourism, and people could come and travel really from along places to see a place where they're not interested to see the archaeological sites. They want to see the creative activities and to meet people in their studios. And I have been on that touch base with many people from all over the world, and they just find me, they email me, you know, and they want to visit my studio, and to also they ask me where we should go. And I have for everyone, for their needs, I send them a list of places that they should visit, where they should eat, or what they should buy, or let's say where's these shops that should, with local Jordanian handicrafts. And so I do that on a regular basis with many people to support that kind of creative tourism. That's on one hand. The other hand, other point is the Airbnb experiences. I think that's another good tool. And this is how I met Ashley. She came to write an article about her experience in Jordan and about myself. So I was part of that community also. And you can also, as I remember, like you can find some a group, they're doing soap and the local methods, and other people, they have a beehive or bee industry, honey industry. So you can go there and collect the honey with them, and you can go to the other group of ladies. They have a kitchen, and you can learn how to cook maqlube or mansaf together. So I think these kind of activities on a platform like Airbnb, I think it's very good. And also you can it's easy to approach people and ask them where we should go, what we should do. Yeah.
And by the way, I wanted to say that that restaurant that Hussein mentioned with his Italian friend and his Jordanian wife is called Joe's Hint.
Yes.
Wonderful restaurant. We'll link to it in the show notes as well. Please. And Rawan, you were... Oh, sorry, what were you saying, Sarah?
That it's so delicious.
Yes. Joe's Hint, I know. It's very lovely, and I love that's covered patio that they have, and yeah, it's a very nice location. I used to rent a place right next to it. It was beautiful. But Rawan, you mentioned here that you mentioned earlier how, you know, some Jordanian artists don't get that big stages that perhaps international artists get, and you find them performing in smaller venues. One of those venues that immediately came up to me was Corners, because I remember coming to Corners, and more often than not there would be performances there by various artists, and really, really beautiful performances as well, which is probably one of those venues that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I was gonna add earlier when you asked this question about how to access creative community, I was gonna say it depends on also like what you're interested in. So for example, if you're interested in photography, the internet is amazing. Look up photo exhibitions that are happening in Amman that week, and you will go there and you'll end up meeting people who also have that similar interests, whether they are photographers or they enjoy photography and are there to view. So it's good to also like be quite intentional with like what is your interest and go towards your interest. If you're interested in music, there's multiple venues that are like bars, like Corners, like Maestro, that bring live bands from the region, including Jordan, but also including from Egypt, from Morocco, from Algeria, from Lebanon. And so like beautiful music in both of those venues, and they have open mics as well. So if you want to explore your voice, like Sarah was mentioning, that's a beautiful place for yourself to explore and to collaborate. And people get up on stage that don't know each other and then start to riff off each other like this. And then there's also a lot of cultural spaces that host music as well, like Jadal. Jadal for music and culture has been for a long time. Jadal is one of the first places that in one of my main projects we performed in, and until this day we still perform there. Though it's a smaller venue, but it's so intimate, and it's the quality of the audience and the community is like really beautiful and like raqeen. They're there to listen. They're there to be really fully present, which is a different vibe than a bar. Everyone and their own preference. But yeah, like there's
it's my go-to for locals, because we have a lot of people in the country who don't drink, so sometimes they feel like you want to get them into doing something, you know, something that's purposeful, but you get scared to make recommendations. So I always recommend Jadal, that I know that
Jadal's amazing.
They're gonna feel safe. There's not gonna be any alcohol present in front of them, so you can like really send someone like a local. That way they get powered up with all this knowledge, and then they could give it to their other friends.
And also Jadal is beautiful because they don't only focus on music. Music is one element, but they have like Debke workshop, or like gardening on their rooftop, or sometimes art workshops. They have graffiti on their walls. It's a community cultural space. They have a library. So
that's
Jadal's
the one
an amazing
stairs, right? That's the one that you're talking about?
Yes, between Webde and the Balad in Daraj al-Kalha. And there's similar spaces to that. Like I can't right now off the top of my head, but there are a number of cultural spaces. So yeah, so I would say internet's your friend, being focused on like what is your interest, and then you'll find like-minded people who have similar interests. Definitely walking on foot, which has already been said, and like just being open to the spontaneity of who you might meet here and there. Yeah. And there's a couple of social media pages that also are like really dedicated to announcing like what's happening every week. There's all kinds of things. There's like pottery workshops, glass painting workshops. There's a lot of stuff happening. Manara is also a place like that. It's a cafe, but it also has an art space upstairs.
Shout out to Zaid Suki, whose Orenda tribe is also part of that that space, and yeah, one of my favorite spaces in Webde as well, for sure. You guys are all making me miss Amman quite a bit. So
Yalla,
And
come.
I want to also say one more thing. Like, we're focusing on Amman, and like, God bless Amman. And also there are places just outside. Like, Jordan's a small country, and in an hour in any direction, there are also beautiful cultural spaces and a lot of artists that are in smaller cities or towns. Like Madaba, for example, there's a place called Kaun, maybe you've heard of. That's like a beautiful bookstore, and they also have live music and workshops. And it's like a little bit quieter. There's more nature around there. There's old churches. So it doesn't have to be like the Petra and the Wadi Rum. There's a lot of treasures not so far in Jordan and just around Amman that are really gorgeous.
Absolutely. Yes. I always advocate for people coming and spending a good amount of time in Jordan, in different places and pockets of Jordan, because the majority of travelers still come and kind of do the quick tour, right? But I agree that, and I think you guys have said that too, that you're seeing that more people are coming into Amman, more people are coming into some of those other places, and really getting to know the country and how many beautiful stories there are to find there as well.
And I'm lucky. I think over the past year, I've seen so many places that haven't been normally been open for like creativity, open for creativity. Mountain Lodge Breeze, which is a beautiful, beautiful resort. Bit on the more expensive side for locals to stay overnight. However, a few weeks ago, they did a movie night by the pool for 5 JD. So I sent some of my like younger writers. I told them like, this is an actually really nice event. If you'd like to go, I can cover you for it, you know, as part of the newspaper, and you can go enjoy yourself, like maybe a night away from Amman, but not necessarily staying overnight because maybe they can't afford that, or, you know, there's sometimes a little bit of a cultural thing of like, you know, people staying the night out of their homes. So I'm really happy that a lot of these spaces are opening their doors to creating more things. Like Manada, you said Manada hosted a movie night I think a month ago. There's all these like venues that are doing, and they're not hiding. You can go on Facebook events and sometimes like look for it. And Instagram, our algorithm in Jordan, as soon as you click your interest on one thing, like a pottery workshop, for instance, you're going to get bombarded with like 50 other pottery workshops. So as soon as you are in Jordan and you're being like geotagged in any of those locations, like it's Malik, you're gonna find your your spots. 2 months ago, I booked me and my friends to go do like a hand painting workshop for like mugs. It was actually overwhelming for us. As soon as we had like typed in like ceramics shop, like there was, I'm not even kidding, 30 people that popped up that were doing all the same thing. So it just goes to show that there's so many creatives in Amman that want to work, they want to invite you, they're there, they're really there. But I like what Rawan said, the more specific you are, the easier it will be to find it.
Oh yeah, I love that. You guys, thank you for sharing all your recommendations and your insights. I think we're going to inspire our listeners for sure to do that when they come to Amman, and not only Amman, right? Like you said, that this really applies to everywhere you travel, that you just need to kind of be driven by that curiosity and look, and as soon as you look, you will find for sure a lot of beautiful places in those communities. So we're going to start wrapping up. I think we've been, I think we started about an hour ago. I lost track of time, to be honest, because I'm enjoying this conversation so much. But we're going to start wrapping up. And to close, I wanted to ask you, what is giving you hope right now for the future? And we talked a little bit about this in the beginning, but I just want to close on that note of hope and wonder what, if anything, is giving you that hope right now. And also want to recognize that I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, this hour and this conversation has been healing as well. And it has brought a little bit of levity and a little bit of joy. And I think that's really important. So I want to thank you for that gift again, for this time, for this shared space that we had together in this hour. I think it was beautiful. And yeah, I want to just say thank you. But what is giving you hope right now?
Yeah, I think any answer from me will be like a life coaching advice, and I don't like that. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid this also because I think it's a personal thing, you know, what gives you hope. For myself, it gives me hope, but like the wonder, like every time when I express and experience a new let's say a new tool or um, a new thing in my career, discovering or making a new project, also touring in my city, knowing more about the history of my country, yeah, this gives me hope, like and carrying that to more people, and this is what gives me hope. This is my fuel for every day. I love what I do. I am one of the lucky ones who decided what they want to be when they were kids. When I was 10 years old, I said, yeah, I want to be a guy who work on art and to play with letters, and here I am. So I'm so lucky to be in that position. So that gives me the hope every day. Every day I came to my space. I love my space. I love my tools. I love my cats. I love my flowers, and apparently I have fans of my flowers. And in my neighborhood, this is like this gives me hope. You know, it pushed me to continue. It pushed me to not to give up. And these little things really, it covers many bad and many negative aspects of our life. Like everyone has.
Yeah. And that
sad aspect, yeah. So yeah, we try to overrun these things, and by hope and by staying positive.
Yeah. And I just want to say that that love that you feel for your space and for your flowers and your art and the letters and the cats, we feel it too in your space. And that's why it's, I think, such a magical experience. I invite, or I encourage everyone to come and visit Elharf, because it's really a very special, energetically even a very special place, and we feel that. So yeah, we feel that love, Hussein.
Okay, great.
Sarah, Rawan?
I'm thinking it. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I had the biggest breakthrough when I moved here, in the sense of I broke down completely. I realized how out of tune I was with like my own mental health and my womanhood and my femininity when I had moved to Jordan, because to be a woman here requires a lot more strength than I probably used to use in the US, because now I have so many things to carry. But what really has been giving me hope lately, I get to have a lot of conversations with like so many people around me from different generations, and I really do see like a shift in so many people. I mean, because I've been here since Corona, and I've kind of like transitioned away from it now, but really I see so many changes in everyone around me, and it's not changes to things that people Western world wants the Middle Eastern world to change. I'm not talking about people changing their religion or the culture, or the fact that there's certain practices here that is maybe not understood to the West. I'm talking about really the willingness of us as a community and how we listen to one another. The fact that, you know, I can sit with my in-laws. Me and my in-laws yesterday were arguing about certain things. And I can listen to my husband's father, who grew up in Palestine, who was born and raised there. And he can tell me his experience, and I can tell him, Ammo, this is my experience now as someone who's raising a voice for the things that we weren't able to talk about before. And we can find the common ground. And then you can watch younger generations now who are using their voice. When I was in China, I told my husband, China's so quiet compared to Amman. Amman is so loud. And I think I love that about Amman. And it's even louder now. People are really like finding their voices. Kind of like what Rawan said. I was talking to my mom. I told her I've been feeling a lump in my throat. I don't know if it's from holding back tears or like really something wants to come out now. And so that's what's been giving me hope, is that there's more awareness, more attuneness to what's going on. The world is starting to see us. I really appreciate that. I've been like, since I'm very lucky, like Hussein, I've known what I've wanted to do since I was little. I've known I've wanted to be a journalist, and I was always writing. I was very bad at math and everything else in the world. So I think I really only had one choice. But I had always been very proud to be like Jordanian, Arab, Muslim, to be, in this bubble, even though I wasn't very much appreciated. And now I feel it even more. And that's why I feel so lucky to be here. And I feel so lucky to listen to people around me. I love the conversations I'm having. And I've seen a shift just since I've moved here in the last 3 years. It's very different than I think what I've experienced before. So it's nice. I really love that.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful, Sarah.
Thank you.
I think there's two things. One of them is my relationships. My relationships give me a lot of hope, whether it's my family or friends or people that we stand in solidarity together, in allyship together, across different fields, whether it's creative or social work or whatnot. So that's one main one, big one. That's like a huge support system in moments where it feels desperate. And then definitely lessons from nature are always a source of hope for me. So watching how nothing is actually lost in nature. Like destruction is a part of the cycle, but things always find their way to be recycled. And there is a divine balance that somehow strikes in the end. So perhaps in sharing that, I would say also my faith. Faith gives me hope. That sometimes I don't understand, and I cannot understand everything in this moment. So just to also like not surrender from a giving up kind of way, but surrender that my desire to understand everything or to solve everything or change everything, and to remember my size is like we're all have so much power within us, and also we're all quite small. So yeah, that gives me a little bit of like a self-compassion, gentleness.
Yeah, so beautiful, so beautiful. I think all of you touched on all the basically basic blocks of human experience, honestly, and it's so beautiful. And it leaves me with more hope, and it leaves me with more longing to come quickly and hug you all and have a conversation in person, perhaps in Rumi. I've missed Rumi. It's been a while.
We didn't get to finish our cup of tea last time, so I'm waiting for you.
Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, we'll close with this story because it's such a So Sarah and I were meeting in Rumi for a nice cup of tea when I realized, or when I learned that I have to be in the airport in less than an hour or an hour, something crazy like that. I was literally buying my ticket as I'm finishing the cup of tea and rushing off. I just remembered, that's right.
And Yulia, being such a great friend that she is, we're like sitting and talking, and I'm like, Ana bafadfid, I'm getting rid of all of my emotions, and I'm telling her about life and this, and she's just like booking a flight, and I'm like sipping on. We're both living in 2 different time zones. I felt like
But I was being present though. I wasn't you know, I was a little multitasking, but yeah.
No, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about you. And I love having you as a friend because of that, because in all of the chaos, you were so calm and present with me that it was actually very admirable. I was like, how does she do this? Like, I mean, 2 hours ago, I was in the middle of the grocery store. I had to write a news story and I was like sitting in the middle of the grocery store. Like, I can't focus if there's so I give you hope, but I hope that next time you come, we will finish our cup of tea to entirety.
Yes, absolutely. We will. Thank you all so much today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing the space with me. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself, your work, your hopes, your thoughts and feelings in this moment. I love you guys. My heart is with you. All the best to you, and I will see you soon in Amman or somewhere else beautiful in the world.
Inshallah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Leah. Nice to meet
you,
you guys. Sarah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye, friends. See you.